It's a useless waste of time. I don't care what's on your mind. The truth was never for us to find. We could lock horns all day, but really who cares what we say? We will be lost before we fade. I can almost hear it cry, this feeling you somehow deny. Just how do you fail to heal the roaring, grinding of your gears? As you dictate the laws, your future self honors the flaws. And some of us who are awake watch as you are fixing your mistakes. By along the stump, the subtle movements of the land. Within the limits of these chains, there's only so much to explain. That you will find this wall, the one that's infinitely tall. And as we move the hour around, are we just dancing in the sand? It's a useless waste of time. I don't care what's on your mind. The truth was never for us to find. We could lock horns all day, but really who cares what we say? We will be lost before we fade.
Down Hopping Street, where shadows wander, they sweep the walls, they crawl and crawl to kiss the lights. A woman wonders where's the crowd. The clock reads night, yet she's still out. She peeks the dark and sees but black. As she walks, they creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
Oh, they creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl in the dark.
As she walks, they creep and they creep and crawl. Still out, he peeks to the door and keep it back.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Learning Fives. This is the Week 2 show match. My name is Blaster Boy, and I will be handling color casting for you tonight. I'm joined here by a very special guest, Octavian, who will be subbing in for Zeta for the night. This is the, Itty Bitty Kitty Co. versus the Bringers of Darkness on the sides of blue and red, respectively. We're right into picks and bans.
Yeah, the players are anxious to get in, and thank you. I was not aware I was a very special guest. I'm glad I'm so special to you all here, folks. But yeah, I don't know much about these teams. I haven't casted L5s before, but just looking at the names, I know I'm in for a bit of a treat because this is the most juxtaposed I think I've seen two names ever. We've got the epitome of Reaper names in the form of Bringers of Darkness. They are so very edgy. They're going to cut themselves. And then Itteh Bitteh Kitty Co. on the other side, taking them on.
Yeah, unfortunately...
And we don't have picks and bans.
Yes, we had a missed ban by the Bringers of Darkness. So we will be remaking here.
Shouldn't take us too terribly long, I don't think, to get into the next picks and bans, though. It is just one player.
Definitely should not. Mm-hmm. Let's throw it back to the music for a moment. We will just be 1 second, guys. We won't be long. Just gonna get everything. Oh, actually, no. Never mind. It looks like players are making it back in. I don't know.
This is
how long it'll take.
This is the most exciting and stressful part of a broadcast as a caster. Just giving you a little bit of insight to what it's like to be an amateur caster. Yeah. The client is the most difficult thing. It's like a cat to be wrangled before every single game. Because it's a cat made out of spaghetti, right? It doesn't know. I'm so glad there's an alpha. I'm so very glad there's a new client alpha, it's very possible.
Wait for that. Speaking of cats and spaghetti, Riot's taking a similar approach to some champions now as well. Rengar has been noted to be getting a bit of a rework with the Assassin Pass that they're doing in the next few months, and they literally just took all of his internal code and just threw it out the window, and they're just restarting. They just went full client with Rengar. They just decided, you know what? There's just no way for us to find all of these bugs naturally. We just have to start over from scratch. Hopefully that'll work out, because that could be a good way to take an early look at the quality of the client, maybe. I don't know. Weird parallels there, but we are back in picks and bans now, hopefully with the correct bans this time. Malzahar taken off the table for the Kitty Co.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, since we're not really in a sort of regular season sort of tournament format. These teams may not be super familiar with one another. I believe Bringers of Darkness did play in our last show match here.
They did.
If I'm wrong.
Yes, they did play last week. They played a different team, however. So that's about the only information that you can really get on the Bringers of Darkness so far. Just the two matches that they played last week. Nothing too huge. The Kitty Co. do have their own games under their belts. They have their own players that are known between the coaches at the very least. So I know some scouting has happened, potentially. Kindred seems to be the corrected ban here for the Bringers of Darkness. Ari is actually insta-locked, though, for Kitty Co. Very, very strong pick here, I feel. Maybe not up there with some of the others, but she's a good counter to some of the current picks that are in the mid lane meta right now, and I feel like she is still up there decently enough in power.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ari's never really taken too much of a nosedive out of the meta. Whenever she's out of it, she's just barely out of it. But as you say, she can be a bit of a counter to some of the current mid laners, some of these mid-range, squishier, less mobile characters like Victor, like somebody like Cassiopeia, who's slithering her way into the mid lane nowadays. But first picking it that quickly means that it's likely a really comfort pick for Mind the Bananas if these players are in LCS order, which I'll go out on a limb there and assume they are. Because you don't know what you're going up against. It was picked into Anivia, it looks like, as Guy at Gisborne is going to be grabbing that. Appreciate that name, by the way. References to historical fiction. I can always get behind those. Yeah, I would say Ari actually does quite well into an Anivia. So that's honestly a little bit of luck for Mind the Bananas that his opponent is willing to pick into a matchup where he's theoretically countered, but maybe it's just Guy being really confident on his pick.
Yeah, we'll have to see which way the lane swings. I feel like it's kind of a skill matchup here. There definitely is room for it to go either way, in my opinion, but Ari just has quite a bit more potential to get ahead. If she gets just a single kill or two, she can easily push that not only in her lane, which Anivia can do as well, but also into other lanes. Similarly, Lucian is also very strong. He can get rolling very early and turn that into even more. But Ashe is somebody that's a very formidable opponent in the lane, matched up with a Nami as well, paired with a Nami, I should say. Very, very strong lane there. A lot of poke, a lot of ways that they can deal with this Lucian. Constantly slowing him down and stunning with the bubble potentially could be huge, but just the consistency of being able to sit there and just auto-attack the Lucian. You don't have many skill shots that he can really dodge, particularly from the Ashe. We've got a Lowy locked in on the opposite side, though, and Rek'Sai is being hovered. I wouldn't be surprised to see this locked in here.
Yeah, Rek'Sai is just is a jungler. You know, like there's not really much more you can say about Rek'Sai. That Rek'Sai's kit is just beautiful for jungling. Good, clear, is Elise. You know, that it's really good when you can be Elise as well as being Rek'Sai. God dang it.
That's a talent. That's a talent. Yeah. That's why you don't talk about hovers too much. It's so hard to avoid sometimes, though. Seriously. Nonetheless, though, Elise also very good at clearing. She's also similarly very good at ganking. She has a lot of flexibility. She can take advantage of a lot of different opportunities, but she doesn't scale as well as the Rek'Sai. Now, Akumi did play Rek'Sai last week, and his Rek'Sai was not amazing. I'll say that. It was really hard for Bringers of Darkness to have a fantastic performance from any of their roles because they just... I don't know. It seemed to be kind of a mismatch between the teams last week, and none of them were ever really able to get rolling. So to judge them on the champions that they picked last week is a little bit difficult. But nonetheless, maybe a bit more comfort on that, at least for Akumi. Akumi did show up a bit better on jungler. Other than Rek'Sai, I can't recall what the pick was now. Now, if we look at the other side, talking about junglers, we've got Gragas again, similar to Rek'Sai. A lot of tankiness, very good clear, good ganking, initiation, disengage built in as well, sustain for the jungle. Across the board is very strong. And Varus hover. I don't think we're going to see that because that would probably be Anivia support in that case. And that would be a little bit strange.
I really like the composition now that we see it fully materialized here from Itteh Bitteh Kitteh. It's so much fun to say that name. I really like their composition, provided their solo laners are able to carry their weight. I haven't seen these players, but they've picked some really snowbally solo lanes in the top and mid, and then they just got a great core composition with Ashe, Nami, and Gragas. You know, you can engage, you can disengage. You've got a lot of team fighting presence in just those three champs alone. And then if either one of these solo laners gets rolling, they've got a game plan. The problem arises is when neither of those solo laners get going, then they might be a little bit low on the damage side of things.
Yeah, definitely will be low on the damage if those solo laners don't get rolling, like you said. What's interesting about this comp is I touched on the Ahri being able to roam. Pantheon is also able to roam. Gragas is able to gank very easily. Nami is pretty good at roaming, and Ashe can be globally effective. She can affect elsewhere on the map globally just from the bottom lane with her arrow, of course. If any of these laners get rolling or get good initiations off, then they can help each other out very, very significantly and turn this into a bigger snowball just from anywhere on the map, really. On the opposite side, though, we have quite a bit of skirmishing, and Nivea is very good at wave clearing. She can shut down any of the sieges that would come through should Kitteh get ahead in this game. Lucian is very good at skirmishing. Morgana can keep any individual safe. At least it's hard to gank. Alawi is hard to gank. There's just so much, there's stark differences between these comps and what they want to do, and it almost feels like they counter each other to an extent. I really want to see which way this game goes because there's a lot of potential for it to swing either way or swing back and forth as well.
And in particular, I'm going to be keeping an eye during laning phase in the top lane because I feel like that's going to be the most volatile part of the map.
Yeah, definitely.
Because whichever way it breaks, it's going to break hard. If Alawi or Pantheon comes out on top of that lane, even by a small margin, it will snowball very quickly, and it'll be really hard for whichever side is taking the losing side of that lane to come back.
Yeah, I think we'll need to see a lot of jungle presence up there if we want to. If one side of the lane gets behind and then they want to be able to swing it back, either Akumi or Chunky Soup will have to be putting attention up there, just in general, because like you said, it's so swingy. Even just a single gank can actually flip that. Can either flip it entirely over from the direction that it's going in, or they can just decide that lane outright, and there might not be anything left that you can do. Pantheon is significantly easier to gank than Alawi is. Alawi can easily 2v1 in a lot of situations if you try to gank her, so she might even require some special attention of her own if she gets rolling in this game.
We do have, I think, about a minute and a half left on the spectator delay, though, before we get into the match, though.
Yes.
So if you were looking to swap it over to some light listening before we get onto the rift.
Yes, we will do that. Stick with us, guys. We have about a minute left, plus the loading screen, before we get onto the rift. Once again, this is Itty Bitty Kitty Go versus the Bringers of Darkness. We'll be getting into Game 1 very shortly. Stick with us. We got some music for you.
Street where shadows wander, they sweep the walls, they crawl and crawl to kiss the lights. A woman wonders where's the crowd. The clock reads night, yet she's still out. She peeves the dark and sees but black as she walks the creep and
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the Rift for game number 1 between the Itty Bitty Kitty Co. and the Bringers of Darkness. That name is never going to get old.
You couldn't do it, could
no,
you?
I tried. I tried really hard.
I admire
Got
you.
pretty far. In the end.
But in the end.
We're going to have an invade, it looks like, at level 1. In the end, it's going to be an invade.
It's the best time.
Oh, Justice Dealer might walk right into this.
He does indeed.
No
He gets
black
shot
shield.
backwards into the stun. And that is first blood going to Chunky Soup.
Wow, that was not, man, just not enough buildup on that. They needed to be a little bit slower on that. Yeah, it was, wow, that was fast. Real nice, quick first blood. That's a big lead to Chunky Soup, actually. 400 gold into the pocket of this jungler at level 1. That's going to be big, because that's going to be a machete just right off the bat. That is going to help us clear a ton, actually. This might actually mean a bit more than it seems like one kill should.
Yeah, the jungler is probably the best place to get that first blood, since the early game is most impactful in the jungle. The first few minions, first few clears are really, really huge in shaping how the rest of the game sort of plays out. Still going to be starting on the bottom side here, getting that most valuable leash from the duo lane.
Yep, something to keep in mind with Chunky Soup now is 3 minutes 30 seconds is the approximate time that the jungler has cleared most of the jungle, gotten both buffs, and is looking for the first gank. So Chunky Soup will be a little bit ahead of that margin. We need to keep an eye on how much quicker he is than that and see if he can catch anyone off guard. There's a lot of pushing from the Bringers of Darkness in bottom lane.
So this is going to get charmed backwards by Beefcake, who manages to land the Thunderlord's proc. That's what you're looking for in that sort of trade. A nice piercing lane from Kevin.
Yeah, with this wave advantage down bottom for Kevin OD and Justice Stealer, they may very well get level 2 first, and that could easily turn into a kill with Morgana Lucian, I feel.
Oh yeah, lots of damage, lots of catch potential there. Ooh, Cyrillus drops the shard, but didn't have the chilled passive up, having not landed any other abilities there, so didn't do all that much damage.
Oh, level 2 for Bumblebee NA.
Yeah, and Guy of Gisborne is getting bullied backwards here. It is really easy for Pantheon to match up against a lot of melee top laners because he has that advantage of just the consistent, annoying damage coming out of his spear toss.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a matter of balancing your mana. You don't want to run out of mana, especially versus Illaoi. If Pantheon... I mean, Pantheon's passive won't even be all that valuable versus Illaoi because her tentacles don't count as auto attacks, so the initial W damage will be blocked, but that's not the bulk of her damage anyway, so it'll be an interesting lane because both of them can actually poke pretty well. Illaoi's Q has a decent amount of range on it. Mind the bananas.
It was a nicely placed Aqua Prison. It stopped Kevinod from coming any closer, and that piercing light would have been really dangerous at that particular junction, but still some good damage laid down onto the Nami.
Yeah,
thankfully, though, it is Nami.
Meanwhile, we see Guy of Gisborne actually pushed out of the lane entirely up top. We'll have to TP back. Something to take note of. A few things, actually. Guy of Gisborne has Ghost, which is odd for an Illaoi for me, personally. I've never seen a Ghost on Illaoi, so it'll be interesting to see how he's able to take advantage of that. I feel like it could be good to give him some chase potential. It's better than Flash for chasing, but it's just a matter of whether he can actually escape from bad situations without the Flash. And also, Chunky Soup actually took a bit of a slower route and full cleared his entire jungle, and he ended up just going back without attempting a gank. So Akumi and neither Akumi nor Chunky Soup went for that 3.5 minute usual gank timing, and they're both just farming up the rest of their jungle.
That does mean, however, since they both took that path, that Chunky Soup still comes out quite a bit on top. Not only because of the first blood, but because of that, he was able to clear much more quickly, and we see Akumi just now finishing the blue buff, while Chunky Soup is returning for a second round of clears, perhaps, into his jungle, or maybe his first gank of the game as he's rotating near the mid lane looking for a crab in the river. The junglers may actually intersect here.
Yeah, if they do, I feel like it would not be in Akumi's favor. It's kind of debatable, I feel, because I think that Elise does a decent amount of damage right now. Maybe even a bit more than the Gragas, but it's just a matter of whether this item mismatch really matters or not. It is an amplifying tome picked up in the favor of Chunky Soup. Here's
Both
a bit of
supports
a
and junglers
trade.
are here, but yeah, Beefcake Timo is roaming from the mid, and that is more than they were willing to take on the side of Bringers of Darkness. They weren't able to field their own mid laner to the fight.
So another teleport burned for the Bringers of Darkness, so they have no global pressure right now. Now, there's only one TP on the side of Kiriko, so This isn't the biggest hit to the Bringers of Darkness, but there will be more global pressure from them just the entire game automatically, thanks to the Pantheon being able to ult in and the Ashe potentially being able to ult in, and again, just stellar roaming and gank potential of all of these laners.
Oh, this is the early level 6 from Beefcake. He's got potentially an opportunity if he can just find a lineup for a Charm into Cyrilus, and there it is, the Charm lands. Beefcake has that level 6 advantage. The Igniter's dropped. He's going to be rushing forward spiritually. Here comes the Foxfire as well, but Akumi is coming in from the side.
Out of mana
keep his
nearly.
mid laner alive. Yeah, Beefcake, Teemo just about dodges away from that cocoon. Chunky Soup not able to finalize on a kill either, though, as he gets stunned by the Anivia. And that'll be just about it for the mid lane. Another kill almost going down from both sides. Chunky Soup now roaming into the enemy jungle. We'll find Akumi hideout in a bush, and Akumi will toss a cocoon his way and walk off.
And not really any threat from this Elise right now. Actually, just not really packing that much of a punch with a full rotation of spells even. So definitely not able to deal with Chunky Soup on this Gragas right now, but just continuing to try and farm up. That one kill is really the only remaining difference here between the junglers. Honestly, the CS is more or less even, and Akumi can very easily close this up just by getting a few good ganks off. But then again, on the other hand, Chunky Soup can gank just as easily, and just as easily make this into even more of a lead. But speaking of leads, taking a look at some CS right now, a bit of a bit of a CS lead in the mid lane for Beefcake Teemo, about 10, and about 10 down bottom for Crit Commander as well. So looking good for Kiriko so far.
Yeah, and I mean, Crit Commander's done a particularly good job, I have to say, because the majority of the times that the cameras allowed us to glance down here to the bottom lane, we've seen Justice Dealer going aggressive. And we've seen Kevin following it up with some nice piercing lights, mainly to the effect that Mind of Bananas comes out with a few hundred hit points missing. So, despite the fact that they've lost a lot of trades in terms of health, he still managed to stay ahead of his opponent. Beefcake takes a trade back from Cyrilus. The Charm doesn't quite land.
Just wide.
Still, though, a bit of a mismanaged trade in the end, even had the Charm connected, because the Charm was thrown out after everything else had been dropped.
Yeah, really all that Charm would have added was maybe one more auto in total from Beefcake Teemo. There's no more damage amp on that, and there were no spells left for...
Oh, here's a Spirit Rush, though. It is available once again in another
very nice,
beautifully placed Charm. Gets the kill in the return from the Orb of Deception, and that is cashing in on the earlier trade.
Yeah, I'm able to take that egg down earlier, like you just touched on. That really came out big for Beefcake Teemo there. The Tentacle was killed by Bumblebee up top.
Oh,
Tesla
taking
very low.
Wide. There's the Ghost Pop from Guy of Gisborne. Bumblebee is going to continue the chase just long enough to get him out of the lane and keep on farming. Akumi's up top, though, and he's going to be pouncing on in, but he gets turned back around on him. There's a large minion wave here, not to mention all the damage a Pantheon brings to bear. Propel gets a bit of distance, and yeah, as you say, the minion body blocks the cocoon, but it looks like Bumblebee will be content with just chasing everybody out of his territory.
I'm not entirely sure why Guy of Gisborne is backing right now. He is a little bit low on mana, and he does have a decent amount of cash in his pocket, of course, but he had 3 potions still. He really should be using those if he's going to spend that much money on sustain. So
there's the teleport, though.
Yeah, he will be getting back into lane. I'm just hoping that he uses them this time. He seems to be building into the Sunfire first, so taking significantly less damage and has significantly more health now than he did just a moment ago. And Chunky isn't a bit caught out here.
He does have Body Slam to create some distance. If Akumi can land this cocoon, they may yet still have this kill. But Mind the Bananas coming up to help out his jungler. Gets caught between a rock and a spidery place. There goes the ulti, but it's going to be blocked by a beautiful black shield. Crit Commander Loud, though, is here with a few slowing auto attacks, as Mind the Bananas is as well. The calling is just about tickling the fish's backside. A nice crystalline arrow stops Kevin Odd in his tracks as a Dark Binding again lands into Mind the Bananas. Justice Dealer, along with
Beefcake Teemo's here.
More justice. And I don't really think that Beefcake Teemo can clean up that much. Ari's a good roamer, but wasn't too much left to clean.
Yeah, that was a really, really strange whole fight there, really, but it worked out for the side of Bringers of Darkness. They were able to pull out 1 kill in the end, and I mean, what more can you really ask for with that? That was really close to being either a landslide victory or a disaster either way. And it just ended up being somewhat neutral there. And it took a few spells out of both sides as well.
Yeah, the game is holding much more even than I anticipated, and that's exemplified most in this top lane, where I thought that we'd have a particularly volatile lane. We'd have it breaking one way or another relatively early, but these laners are still holding pretty even in CS. A few times we've seen Guy get chased out of the lane, have to burn that teleport to come back in, but it still worked out for him. He's still got enough gold to be going on.
Yeah, the kill pressure has been there occasionally, a few times over, but it's never really come to fruition completely. It's reared its ugly head a few times from Bumblebee nearly poking him out, but now we might actually see it in full effect as Chunky Soup is ganking.
Yeah, Guy of Gisborne has two options here, run or turn. It looks like he's going for turn. There's the ulti
man.
turn. Chunky Soup, he's got quite a few tentacles smashing down onto that man. And there's one final slap from the side, and that's the 2v1 potential you were talking about.
Yeah, that is definitely just 100% the potential of that Alawi. Really, really nice play from Guy of Gisborne. It wasn't anything super flashy or anything like that, but it was just solidly executed. And a little bit of over-aggression, it seems, from Chunky and Bumblebee. They didn't really take every single precaution that they could have there, I feel. Oh, beautiful Black Shield.
Spell Shield. Aqua Prism will still hold up Akumi, but he's going aggressive nonetheless. They really want to bring down Crit Commander. Crit Commander, though, turns the kill of his own onto Justice Dealer. Mind the Bananas once again in a tight spot here. He's going to be probably burned to death, I'd imagine. The bubble comes out, but it doesn't land, and Cocoon does. Kevinod gets the kill. Now, Anivia's egg being popped here by Beefcake. He's still got a few thousand, maybe just about 1,000 hit points left to work with to finish off this kill. A flash over the wall. Will it be answered? Beefcake does not follow. He's going to settle for the Summoner spell and the passive as a victory and go back to farm.
Yeah, this is looking already like a very different Bringers of Darkness so far. They're really playing super aggressive. One of the big issues that I saw with Bringers of Darkness last week was that they never took advantage of any openings. They would find openings and they would look at them and identify that they existed, but then they wouldn't actually pull the trigger on them. And that led to them very quickly, or in the second game, actually very slowly getting edged out by the opposing team, and eventually just losing the entire game because they never took advantage of any aggressive openings that they could use to get a lead. We're seeing that happen here now. They're finally taking advantage of them. And we're seeing it in Kevin OD's play style already. He's constantly dashing in and looking for big plays to be made on this Lucian, and this is looking much better for Bringers of Darkness. Mind the Bananas. Here's another
There's
pick.
the dash in once again. Relentless pursuit, bringing Kevin Odd close. The culling flies wide, however, and Mind the Bananas will get out of there with his life. However, not with his vision, I suppose. As the ward goes down. Justice Dealer again! These Black Shields have been on point, man. And a good dash from Kevin Odd as well.
Yeah,
and Justice Dealer apparently had faith in his AD carry to get out of the way of the arrow, so he shielded himself.
Yeah, I mean, they coordinated that perfectly. Self-casting is, in most situations, much, much quicker than casting on someone else manually, so very, very good from Justice Dealer nonetheless.
With the dragon attempt
there he might look for a fight after.
Gets the secure, and Morgana is deleted. Now Kevin will be leapt upon. Gragas ulti flies wide, but it doesn't even matter. Beefcake Teemo finishes off the kill into the enemy AD carry. And now they're looking for more. Itty Bitty Kitty Co. They land a bit of slow into Gisborne, but they're not going to chase any further. Likely. No, Chunky Soup will stop there.
Poor Chunky. He threw the ult a little bit wide and ended up not even getting an assist for that.
It was a good prediction on the ult.
It was.
Bumblebee flashing forward for the stun that meant that it didn't land.
Yeah, it definitely was a good prediction. Had the rest of his team not been super on point like they were there, I guess. But he ended up not getting an assist from that. That's the only unfortunate thing. If he had Cinderhulk, he would have had that because he was in combat.
At all? Oh,
no,
man,
he didn't even get an auto off. Oh, Silurus.
There's the 1v1 in the mid lane, though, as Silurus gets charmed backwards, but he lands a bunch of damage himself with that sharp isicle.
Yeah, Silurus
really does a lot of damage.
It does. It does so much damage. Guy of Gisborne And everybody on the Bringers of Darkness, again, just to reiterate, they're looking like a different team here, really. All the same players as last week, but they're just playing much, much more aggressively than they did last time. They're just looking for any little opening rather than seemingly almost ignoring or not taking advantage of some of the larger openings that were left like last week. So this is much improved from them overall.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see that in where Hakumi is right now on the minimap. Look, he's in the enemy jungle, getting those timers and the buffs, stealing away a Gromp camp.
And warding as well. The vision control from the Bringers of Darkness is great this time. The aggressive wards from Akumi, but also some passive wards. You can see they know where they're losing or where a lot of focus is on the map from Kitteh here, and that's exactly where they're warding.
And it looks like Bumblebee anticipated the gank, and so he'll be out of there in time. Still, though, gives Guy of Gisborne basically a free trade here. Gets a few hundred hit points off of that Pantheon.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the more valuable things I think is not as often considered about becoming vesselized by the Alawi with a Test of Spirit is how many tentacles it will spawn for you. It can spawn a good 2 or 3 tentacles for you, and normally those are like 20 seconds apart, and you have to be there in order to spawn them. If they're not just killed off immediately, that's actually some extra value to just throw that Test of Spirit and try to get them to pop that tether whenever possible, or just try to kill off that clone, just so that you have more potential for damage later, assuming they are left alive. Here's more damage onto Bumblebee.
Yeah,
there's a dive.
Diving underneath the turret. The ulti, Leap of Faith, didn't quite land, but he didn't need it to. Guy of Gisborne gets the kill with a harsh lesson.
Yeah, by default, it spawns 1 tentacle, makes all of them invulnerable nearby, and gives them increased attack speed. So, saw that come into full effect there with Bumblebee on the dive. Silurus teleports in mid. He's going to be able to clear this. This is the power of the Anivia that I touched on in Champ Select. They're just not going to have a very good time besieging versus this Lucian and Anivia combo.
Yeah, and they're losing ground up on the top side of the map as Guy of Gisborne, now uncontested, is getting some good damage out onto that turret with a sort of off-bruiser tanky damage build. He's got a piece of everything in that inventory.
Yeah, very strange.
Take down the turrets in pretty good fashion. Bumblebee will burn the teleport topside to halt any further push, however.
Yeah, well, it does look a little bit odd, that build. It really does make quite a lot of sense. Alawi likes all of those stats and started building Sunfire.
Oh, man.
Oh, another great spell shield.
That was on point.
Again? Oh, no.
Dashing in. There's the ulti. The egg is popped, and Silurus will not last long here. Chunky Soup.
Oh, no.
Takes that as an ingredient. Justice Dealer going to be charmed backwards. The Ignite burning. One more tickle to it. It's Sexy Beefcake Timo gets the kill. That is a sentence I never anticipated saying.
Yeah, agreed.
Sexy Beefcake Timo.
Akumi found Beefcake.
No, is
goodbye.
Way too far into the enemy jungle. A double tap off the passive. Doesn't care about Spirit Rush and gets the kill. Mind the Banana is playing defense for his team. Tosses out an Aqua Prison onto Gisborne. Gets kited back. And a kill goes back to the side of Bringers of Darkness, but they do lose a turret in the mess.
Yeah, it looks like Kitteh is moving down to take this dragon as soon as possible, but it's simply not up for just a little bit over a minute still. So that'll be a long time coming. They're not going to have the same map control in a minute that they do right now, because respawns will come through, wards will be placed, and they're backing as well, so they're even giving up control on this bottom side. This will be something the Bringers of Darkness need to take advantage of. They need to be getting wards down right now so that they can be ready for this dragon, and they need to clear out the wards from Kitteh. Guys, Gisborne is fighting up top again.
Fate up on the top side. Oh,
whoa.
My God. Bumblebee is.
I was watching the health of the clone.
That is the completed Black Cleaver doing work. He managed to finish an item. You know, we're at 20 minutes, so you'd think that's a little bit late, but it's darn impactful.
It is a little bit late, but it's not late by virtue of him being behind. It's late by virtue of him becoming super tanky first by building towards that Sunfire and then switching gears to that Black Cleaver when he started getting ahead. I think it was actually pretty smart in the end. A little bit of a weird build order, but it definitely worked out for him in his favor. And now Kiriko, they seem completely content with giving up this dragon. They have no vision control down here anymore. They switched their duo up top. Oh, but maybe they might even be realizing that they need to be down here as soon as possible. They seem to be moving their duo back down.
That's
Bringers of
really
Darkness.
good damage on the Silarus.
Bringers of Darkness need to take this dragon right now. Otherwise, this is going to be a full 5v5.
Another Chime flies out. Black Shield is down. That's a dang impactful cooldown. So this is going to get chunked by Sexy Beefcake before the exhaust lands. Kevin
Here's
Odd
Guy of
is in some
Gisborne.
trouble, but a nicely placed Cocoon gets him out of it. A beautiful ulti from Chunky Soup is going to spread the enemy team into disarray as Guy of Gisborne goes down before his ulti can accomplish too very much. In fact, I don't think he even had it up there. Now Kevin Odd going to be flashing away from the last remnants of this team fight as his team has fallen around him, and the dragon will be soon to follow.
Yeah, Bringers of Darkness, they took too many precautions there. I feel like it's a bit of a weird situation, but I think they just needed to pull the trigger on the dragon as soon as it spawned, take advantage of that duo being top, take advantage of the numbers being uneven, and just go for it. Have Gaia Gisborne teleport down immediately and just get ready. Because he went in with the teleport, but he didn't have his ult, and he didn't have any other tentacles there otherwise, so he did no damage in the fight. Bottom tier 2 will fall as well. This is looking better and better for Kiriko.
Yeah, I mean, despite some fumbles in some of these solo lanes, Bumblebee falling behind a little bit in top lane and allowing Guy of Gisborne to get out of control. Hey, that was unintentional, but still beautiful.
I don't believe you. If you make a pun, it must be intentional. That is the rule. Pretty sure.
Allowing one of her weaknesses is, despite the fact she's super powerful in lane, she can 2v1 in some circumstances, she is controllable. And
yeah,
if there's
definitely
any team composition that has the crowd control to keep her in check, it's one with an Ashe and an Ahri and a Gragas and a Pantheon even.
Yeah, everyone has a form of hard CC.
They can hold him down.
Yeah, everyone has at least one form of hard CC, and there's even more when you take a look at everything else. I mean, Nami has a slow that she can give to anyone. Ashe has built-in slows. Ahri, if she goes for Rylai's, will have a slow, but she also has the charm, hard CC, of course. And Gragas has a slow as well, so there's just a lot of different ways to keep this Alawi contained. Like you said, I don't know how effective this Ghost is really going to be, because the big thing about Alawi is you need to be able to close the gap and immediately pull the trigger and execute. The Ghost doesn't really allow you to do that. It allows you to take a decently long chase, and that's simply not something that's going to work versus this composition, I feel.
It was supremely powerful in the laning phase.
It was.
Guy Gisborne is going to be a potent split-pushing threat, and I think that might be how they should use him. I mean, they've got Silarus to hold off pushes forever in a day on Anivia, and then just have Guy, once his teleport is back up, take up a residence in a side lane, and just be a threat which the opponent has to deal with.
Yeah, now we're seeing Kiriko finally begin to move into the Bringers of Darkness jungle and clear out some of their vision. I do like the Bringers of Darkness are already warding defensively, though. And I also like that Kiriko is warding aggressively. They're making sure on both sides of this rift to make sure that they're as defensive and aggressive as they possibly can be and push the limits as much as they can, so that the game is as safe as possible. Because if you don't make these types of moves, then you're just going to get run over again, like the Bringers of Darkness ended up last week. I feel they're just doing so much better now. Bumblebee might be caught here. This could
Pretty good
be
catch.
a fight.
That CC is chained for about a year. Bumblebee does not get out with his life, and Silarus finishes off the kill. That was really good synergy there.
Yeah,
that was
really.
I think it was binding first. They have three hard CCs.
Cocoon into binding,
and,
yeah.
And then the Anivia's done. And it was Cocoon into binding into Anivia. That was
perfectly stacked
to the maximum efficiency. That
beautiful play.
Very nicely done. There's not much more I can say about that. Other than that, it was a pretty simple pick. You know, they catch him turning a corner and they land a well-placed skill shot on him. But just the execution was quite good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, taking a look at the dragons real quick. We've got one Infernal, one Mountain for the side of Kiriko. No dragons yet for Bringers of Darkness. And they need to be thinking about getting some turrets as soon as possible. The big issue with that, I feel, is they're all fairly short-ranged. So they're going to need to get a big upper hand in order to actually get some turrets down, or they're just going to have to find ways to do it just completely isolated from the enemy team. Guy of Gisborne is in a position to do that. You mentioned his split pushing, or needing him to split push before. That could very easily be a way for the Bringers of Darkness to catch up in gold here. It's just a matter of them executing it.
Yeah, I think to execute...
Crit Commander.
He's actually popping the Ghost. There's some damage through the vessel onto Crit Commander. Bumblebee is ulting into the Grand Skyfall, putting him in a bit of a dangerous position. He has to flash out of there. Guy of Gisborne actually avoids the Nami stun by hopping into his own ulti. You have a quarter second of sort of invulnerability. Doing Leap of Faith there with the Lowy ulti. That was perfectly timed.
Yeah, you cannot be disabled over the channel time of the Alawi ultimate. Very nicely done by Guy of Gisborne. Dodges some CC, even gets a kill. Kills off Crit Commander just like he wanted to. With that Test of Spirit, it worked out great. Unfortunately, he didn't get more than that, and he traded his life for it. But this is a very much defendable siege for the rest of Bringers of Darkness at the moment.
It's unfortunate that they're going to lose this blue buff. That is a really powerful tool for somebody like an Anivia for Cyrillus here. It's actually... Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm audible? All right,
yes,
good.
you are very much audible now. Your mic dropped out a little bit there, but seems to be okay now. Just the volume went way down for some reason. Who knows? Top turret falls for the side of Kitteh.
And that is the last outer turret to fall for them, as they have pulled pretty sizably ahead in terms of turrets. And if I recall correctly, they even got the First Blood turret, which I'm really not sure what we should be calling that nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, the game is called the Turret First Blood, so first structure...
I feel like it should have its own phrase.
It should,
first structure,
but yeah, first structure, first turret, I don't know.
One way or another, that is contributing to a sizable gold lead for the size of Itty Bitty Kitteh Co. Now, I would say that Bringers of Darkness have the tools to execute this. Do you agree? Do you think that they could come back in this?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely have a comp that allows them to do that. They have pick potential, as you saw with Bumblebee getting caught out earlier. It's just a matter of this Alawi actually being really effective and the Lucian getting his damage off properly and them actually showing up to try and fight stuff like this. They're not in the best position to do it now with 5,000 gold down, but to not even attempt it almost feels kind of wasted too. It's unfortunate that they're not able to go for that, but they need to find some kind of opening between now and the next dragon. Otherwise, it's just going to get significantly worse, because the next one will be another Earth Dragon. This will be the last elemental dragon of the game, guaranteed, because by the time this spawns, it'll be about a minute before the Elder would flip. So, I mean, it will be in time. The Elder will be guaranteed the dragon following this one. They need to get at least one elemental dragon on the board, I feel, if they want to have an impact. They might need to go for picks and then try to go for Baron or something, because they're not making a ton of different moves to really make this lead. To really close this lead, I should say. Yeah, unfortunately. There's a lot of pings, but all of them are from the side of Kitteh Co. They, again, just have so much pick potential. They can just sit in this bush, and they have 3 stuns right here.
We do have a pause, though. It looks like, Beefcake Teemo's having some connection issues to the match. Hopefully we'll get him back as soon as we can, as he's pretty darn instrumental. 5-1 and 5. I mean, we talked about the mid lane a little bit in the early game, but he's kind of run away with that lane here. Yeah,
really shown up. Really shown up on this Ahri so far.
That's an interesting Ahri build right there. A good amount of cooldown reduction. Actually, I think, everything he's got is stacking cooldown reduction. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at the 40% mark right now. And just stacking mobility as well with the Hextech Proto Belt. Beefcake Teemo is going to be able to catch on to Cyrillus' Anivia. It's very hard to make that name possessive.
Beefcake Teemo does have 40% CDR exactly at the moment, so in a really, really good position. Just spam as many spells as possible. The Morello's is huge for somebody like Ari that wants to be diving in and getting damage on just about everyone that he can. And then eventually, if you can't clean up the kill, the rest of your team likely will. And you will just get a ton of mana back for free, basically. The Proto Belt is very interesting, just stacking dashes on dashes. And, I mean, that's a very large chunk of burst. It's a very weird item. It's used in a different manner than I expected it to. It's about the range of a Vein Tumble, so it's not a huge dash or anything like that. But most of the time I've seen it used point blank just to add a little bit extra punch to your burst. But if we look at the item right now, it's doing almost 250 damage. That's a huge amount of free burst just on a 40-second cooldown active. That's crazy.
What I think is the most impactful number for Hextech Proto Belt. The range or the damage, those are powerful, but the fact that it's just a 40-second cooldown means that it can be weaved really reliably into picks and into attempted catches and stuff. Like every time you go for a big play, it's pretty much always going to be up because it is such a low cooldown.
Yeah,
as we get back into the gameplay here.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Beefcake Teemo's ultimate cooldown, that's 57 seconds. Every single time that he ults, 100% with even 17 seconds change, that will be up. This could be really, really bad.
Guy can get into a good position, but they're leaving him up to dry, and Crit Commander Lou will claim the easy kill. Now Sexy Beefcake putting all that mobility to use is going to get some damn good damage into the backline, and Lucian's going to fall. Now Cyrillus has to flash away from a vengeful Pantheon. He's going to get sped up by the Augur Prism with the spear. Doesn't quite do enough. Oh, man, and they are scattered to the winds on the side of Bringers of Darkness.
Yeah, that was a really, really smart play from Kitteh there. They were sitting in the try looking for a pick. It was not going to happen. There's no reason to walk into the Tri-Brush at this point in the game for the side of Bringers of Darkness, especially when they don't have vision there. So they just give up on that, and instead, they know roughly where the Bringers of Darkness will be. They know they're not going to leave the Baron. So they just walk all the way around, make sure that they're not spotted the whole way, and they pincer 3 people in. They force them out of the jungle. Worst case scenario for Kitteh there, they force them all towards their side of the map. There's just nothing that Bringers of Darkness can really do.
There was one really slightly scary moment there where Guy of Gisborne was right next to 5 members of the enemy team. And most champions, that's the death knell. But on Alawi, that can actually be a situation you can turn around and do some good for your team. Yeah. But I think, honestly, Guy paid for the lack of flash a little bit in that fight, because had he had flash, he could have positioned to the back line of Itty Bitty Kitty's team comp and dropped his ulti, but because he couldn't instantly maneuver like that, he wasn't able to make it there before he got CC chained to death.
Yeah, and that's, again, just one of the biggest hits to Alawi. One of the things that really holds her back from being extremely viable just overall is how hard countered she is by CC and Peel in general. There's just nothing that Guy of Gisborne can ever do in these fights, despite previously being 4-1. Just because he's never allowed to get any damage off due to the CC. And whenever he does, it is a lot of damage, but it's still hard because mobility also can dodge just about all of your damage as well. Alawi is extremely team-centric. She needs somebody to throw Black Shield on her every single fight. She needs someone to lock down the enemy team the entire fight. Guy of Gisborne is caught again, but he also finds Crit Commander.
Spirit under Crit Commander, though. Trade about evenly there, I'd say.
Yeah.
And there is something of an opening here for Bringers of Darkness that they can catch out Crit Commander again, because he is missing both of those summoners. But that's a bit of a tall order, because Itty Bitty Kitteh has actually been playing very well as a cohesive unit in some of these recent fights that we've seen.
Yeah, definitely. And Bringers of Darkness, they've really tried to play together as a unit, but warding has just been a little bit shy of where it needs to be, and they've just not been in position to really contest anything to, again, close this lead, close this deficit of theirs, the lead that Kitteh has at the moment. And now, that's grown to 8,000 gold. It's still 3 turrets, 4-1.
And they've got pressure mounting in multiple lanes now with Bumblebee shoving at the top side uncontested here. Silurus can clear even Baron buff minions pretty effectively, but he can only be in one lane at a time.
Yeah, they're just going to collapse under the pressure if they don't deal with these side lanes soon. Guy of Gisborne He could be caught here. He has a ghost away.
Yeah, and that's a summoner popped off the Alawi. What little repositioning
Chunky.
ability she has burned. Chunky Soup does get CC chained here. Again, nicely layered from the side of Rings of Darkness. Yeah, Chunky is not nearly as squishy as Bumblebee was when he was caught in that pain train.
Interesting build from Crypt Commander. So I've been seeing this build more and more, and while I feel like it does have its advantages, I feel like it's hard to say whether I think this is as good or not as the Essence Reaver build. The Essence Reaver build, the big thing about it is you deal decent damage and you're allowed to stay in fights for a super long amount of time. You might have to hold that thought as Akumi, and just getting shredded there. The Baron buff is gone for the side of Kitteh now, so all of their pushes will be a little bit weaker than they were just a minute ago.
Dragon, however, is going to be back with us in only about 10 seconds or so.
And that's another
As
mountain
you said,
drake.
it's another mountain. Yeah. That's going to give them even more pushing power, which is what they need against Anivia here. I mean, it's been an arduous process to take down these turrets, but they have been reliably taking them down. Every time they get an advantage, a lead in a fight, Baron even, both in that case, they manage to take something off the back of it, and if that pattern continues, eventually they'll reach the Nexus.
They will, yeah, definitely. And 3 mountain drakes now, or is it 3, 2, something like that?
I believe that's the second,
believe
but I maybe
2.
misremembered it.
Oh, nope, that is 3. The last one was
That's
also
3,
mountain
okay.
drake. So 2 is usually the break point for me, where you start to see extremely quick barons, particularly with somebody like Ashe as well. The Baron will just melt with 2 mountain drakes. 3 is where it gets a little bit excessive, actually.
Oh, Krypton is really far up there.
Yeah, he is pushed extremely far up. He has full confidence in his team, I suppose. But
He had Chunky Super
man,
on the corner.
yeah, he had Chunky Soup right there, but man, if he gets CC chained under turret or something, he is just dead. There's nothing he can do. Because that CC chain will last 5-6 seconds, and he has no QSS. He might be caught here.
Just about avoids the
misbinding.
binding, though. The exhaust is down, and the
They're gonna
curling is
kill him,
doing
though.
basically full damage. Every single bullet connects, and that is a death sentence. Kevinod gets the kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, a turret does fall. The triple Mountain Drake proving too treacherous even for an Anivia to hold off.
Yeah, the rate at which you chunk down, you melt something like Baron, like I was mentioning before, but that you chunk turrets as well is just incredibly strong with 3 mountain drakes. It gets really, every objective becomes really, really quick all of a sudden, and this is going to make Elder Dragon a breeze as well. This is going to be crazy.
I've got to feel a little bad for Silurus this game. He had a decent laning phase, holding his own for the most part against Sexy Beefcake, but Beefcake was just able to roam much more effectively as you anticipated between this matchup. And now Silurus has been kind of relegated to a minion killing bot. You know, he's got a decent amount of CS. The time marker and the CS don't really line up too great, but he's been holding out. He's been stopping pushes for a while, but that's really all he's been doing. And he's the factor slowing this game down, but it doesn't feel great, you know? You want to be the factor speeding it up towards victory, not slowing it down away from defeats.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to take one for the team and just become the Xerath, Ziggs, Anivia, and just embrace it and decide, okay, well, if nothing else, I can slow this game until we win. Like, I can stall this game forever, basically. It's not that big of a deal. But Silurus has not even really been in that position. You said he has been clearing a lot of minions, but he's not farming extremely well for how much he's been in that role, and he's not having much of an impact on the game. Otherwise, Gaio Gisborne taking a beating. Justice Dealer too.
Yeah, here we have the Grand Skyfall coming in as well. Justice Dealer is going to get tossed back to his imminent death. Gaio Gisborne gets a great ulti off. Does quite a bit of damage, but he falls before he can really capitalize on it. And now Bumblebee is chasing off the Lucian here, hops in onto Akumi, swapping targets for the easier prey. But it turns out not to be so easy after all, as even through the exhaust, Akumi's able to get a kill back for himself. But the inhibitor falls in the end, and the damage has been done. Itty Bitty Kitteh get back out of that team fight with a numerical loss, but still an advantage, I'd say. Or is it even? No, they traded 1 for 2. They're fine.
So, yeah, they won that in the end, even though it did look a bit shaky, but Gaio Gisborne just delivering huge amounts of damage there, but again, just not enough. He's never allowed to get to the point where he is able to deliver in these fights. you need to almost completely ignore the Alawi for her to deliver, and that's one of the really frustrating things for me about playing her, because she's so fun to play. Oh, Mind the Banana is completely
I don't think he makes that glacial storm, but he
alive,
flashes,
actually.
Out
Wow.
the edge of it.
Very
Silurus
good flash.
Can't quite find the kill.
Beautiful flash there from Mind the Bananas, just perfectly timed. I thought he was dead. Half a second longer, that would have ticked again, and he would have died.
All right,
Very nice.
But Inhibitor is down, Baron is up, and the slow, painful death of Bringers of Darkness continues here. Itty Bitty Kitty Co. now have an easy objective to go for. They can just get a little bit of vision control in that red side top jungle, and then burn Dragon to smithereens in a matter of moments with their triple Mountain Drake.
Yeah, it definitely will not take long. Elder up so soon. With the Elder, it's only going to get worse too, because we've got to remember, Elder not only gives you true damage burn on everything, basically, turrets included. Oh, hold that thought, Guy of Gisborne.
Here on the Guy of Gisborne.
He's going to try to turn it.
Though, and there's the ult.
Too many crits.
Too many crits, indeed. Well, one crit, too many from Bumblebee. I guess there were a lot of crits coming from Crit Commander Lou as well, who was holding up his namesake.
Yeah, lots of crit chance on this Ashe as well. Again, to touch on this build, the difference between Essence Reaver and IE gives you a lot more damage, but Essence Reaver gives you staying power. It gives you power in these fights to stick around a lot longer, and your initiation is much more frequent. It doesn't matter if you don't need it, though.
Immediately after the Grand Skyfall comes in, though, he may be out of a job here. A few more bullets seal his fate. Akumi's going to get bursted with Sexy Beefcake coming over the wall, though. Unnicely plays Morgana ulti, but just
so much damage.
Too fast to be able to follow through on the resolution of it. And Lucian is bursted to death. Now Chunky Soup, tanking with what remains of his health, is going to secure the kill here onto the Anivia.
That's looking like
This may very well be the victory here for Itty Bitty Kitty Co.
Yeah, again, just to draw more parallels from last week, they nearly pulled off a miracle fight at the end of last week too, but they just were not quite able to make it happen. This fight looking very similar, unfortunately for them. That's another death. That is last Nexus under fire. That's it. GG to the Itty Bitty Kitty Co. They take game 1 in this best of 2. There is one more shot for the Bringers of Darkness to redeem themselves here. Man, there's a lot that I feel like both of these teams can really look at to improve in the future, but Bringers of Darkness just kind of became stagnant. I feel like their comp didn't really work out as well as they wanted it to. Guy of Gisborne did have his chance to shine. I think that's what they were mainly looking for here, as weird as it sounds. He got bodied last week, frankly, by Hybrid Varus and top lane Jhin. He ended up in an effective lane swap and versus a cheese pick, more or less. He didn't have any chance to really stretch too much. He was the direst of last week. They wanted to give him an opportunity to try and carry. He did deliver, but just not as much as he needed to. Alawi is just so difficult to make work. I feel like if you take Alawi out of this comp and drop her in to the other comp, she would have been great. It's a weird thing, but snowballing, tons of CC, good initiation, good peeling. There's just so many things that can make Alawi work on the opposite side. Plus, another bonus is Alawi doesn't have to match up against any of these champions if she's playing with them. There's not that much to deal with an Alawi on the side of Bringers of Darkness, really. She just needs a better comp.
It's a case of missed compositional identity. Guy of Gisborne Guy of Gisborne's champion belonged on the enemy team. It's a little bit tragic, honestly, to come out ahead of your lane 4-0, I think it was at some point, and then to not get a kill for the rest of the game. It's the story of the sad top laner, immortalized in the form of Alawi. But that's a story that Alawi tells far too frequently, honestly. That champ is prone to that sort of situation. And in the next picks and bans, I'd expect to see some compositional changes here from the side of Bringers of Darkness.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. But I think we've said all we have to say about this game number 1, guys. We will be getting right back to you with game number 2 between the Bringers of Darkness and Itty Bitty Kitty Co.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drums to what we love. Risk the fall, oh, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkest skies, the champions of the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2 between the Bringers of Darkness in Itty Bitty Kitty Co. We are into, well, Champ Select, picks and bans for the second game in this best of 2. Itty Bitty Kitty Co. took game 1 very decisively, although a bit slowly. And definitely not without their mistakes, but the Bringers of Darkness just simply not able to field a victory quite yet. We are flying through these bans pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and I feel that this next game will be informed greatly by the compositions that these teams draft right now. The Ari ban coming out to keep Sexy Beefcake Timo off that champ. I think that's a good idea. He did snowball pretty hard out of the mid lane. If you're going to target ban, that seems like a good one. But there were some compositional errors, I'd say, from Bringers of Darkness. The Alawi was just too unwieldy for them to really use. And if they're going to go with it again, as it seems they will here for Guy of Gisborne, they need to draft a composition that's better around the Alawi, that activates the latent power of that champ more.
Yeah, there was some discussion about the Alawi in the Twitch chat before, just in between the games. I saw you were involved with it as well. So the biggest issue that I see with Alawi is, yeah, she can't, it was said in chat, she cannot enable herself, really. She relies on her opponents to make mistakes, but I feel like even more importantly, she relies on her team to really enable her. That's a more viable option out of those two. She can make a ton more out of her opponents making mistakes, but it's so hard to do that you need your team to enable you. Instead, oh man, we got a Lux Oct.
Yeah, haven't seen one of those in a little while. I have not seen a
Lux in a while. Froggen just played Lux for the last Echo Fox game to get back into the LCS, if I recall, versus Energy.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so he performed really well on that. They just had, well, mixed in with a ton of bug fixes for the patch overall. They bug fixed Lux as well. Oh, man. Misfortune Leona. What is happening right now?
That is a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage. And, again, Leona was just buffed as well. Misfortune hasn't been buffed for a little while, but I feel like she's still in, like, a sort of mid-tier spot. One of her biggest weaknesses are she is just immobile and she doesn't do as much damage in the same way as some other champions do. Her ult is really good now, though, if you haven't seen one since her rework at the beginning of the season. And Leona, MF, Alawi, this is a huge teamfight composition. This is a massive teamfight wombo. Alawi might not even have to go off in this game to have a big effect. And
Leona alone, like that's potentially enough enabling for the Alawi. They can stack it even further if they wanted to. What could they go? They could go with, like, I don't know, Orianna mid, yeah, I guess.
Rek'Sai, Jarvan would be good here too, potentially. There are a lot of different options that they can go with now because. Okay, do you want
interesting?
Yeah, do you want more damage? Do you want to keep your team alive? Do you want res passives like Zillion or res ultimates rather? Do you want even more CC or more map control, or what do you really want with this? There are a lot of different options here, really, and there's a Shyvana locked in for Chunky Soup on the opposite side. Super hard late game scaling. Farm forever jungler that doesn't really gank a lot. This could be an opening for Akumi to take advantage of that and really push hard with this. I don't know if Quinn is the right choice. We have Talia.
It's an Amumu.
Another Amumu. Akumi played Amumu last week. This is Curse of the Sad Bullet time. This is more with a few adjustments here and there. There's no crescendo like we saw back in season 2. But
I mean, Leona can serve that purpose for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
And Talia even can wall them off, keep them in a more constrained area, enable the Leona ulti, which is your enabler for the rest of everything to go down.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they execute on this, it will be brilliant. It's just a matter of execution.
It is fully 100% a matter of execution. The Bringers of Darkness, they want to be the ones in control of this game, and they need to. This game is delivering in so many ways. Oh, I love the Darius too. That is awesome. I have not gotten to see.
I really actually do like Darius against Black.
Oh yeah. I definitely agree with that. He builds very similarly to her, but the build kind of counter each other. It's going to be a arms race, because if one of them builds tanky first and then the other one builds Black Cleaver, that tanky one is just going to get rolled. If they both rush to Black Cleaver, whoever gets it first is just going to be way stronger than the other, because they're going to have kill pressure to get through all of those base tanky stats too. Darius has such an easier time with stacking up that Black Cleaver and actually taking advantage of it. He will be able to quite literally execute in some of these fights.
Oh yeah.
Man, there is so much potential with both of these comps.
I feel like if some part of the Wombo combo whiffs, if the initiation isn't great or the follow-up isn't great for the side of Bringers of Darkness, who are on blue side, by the way, this game, as they have swapped sides, just one last reminder, then Itty Bitty Kitty is going to have a pretty darn good team comp for cleaning that up. The Darius is going to be able to finish people off, as you said. Shyvana can be there as well to do the janitorial duty, and the long-range nature of their damage carries, the Lux and the Ezreal, will allow them to kite backwards. And so provided they don't get instantly deleted by some sort of beautiful wombo, I really think that Itty Bitty Kitty has actually a pretty darn good answer here. But there's always that provision, you know? Bringer of Darkness, I like this competition much better than the last one because they've got a plan to fall back on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Man, it's going to be such a crazy game, particularly from the side of the Bringers of Darkness. I feel they have such, again, huge wombo comp, but I almost feel like they don't need the whole wombo to land. Most of what they need is they need either Leona or a Mumu, and then ideally MF and Alawi, but one or the other might just be enough, honestly. And then Talia is just there to janitorial work. She just cleans up whatever is left over, picks up the scraps, or she just does massive amounts of damage and controls the entire area that everyone's locked down in with some of her basic abilities. Oh man, this comp, teamfight comps are some of my favorite comps in the game, like wombo comps, I should say, are so much fun, so interesting to see, because if they go off, then they are massive. It doesn't get much more exciting than seeing 5 sequential ultimates all work together in perfect harmony and just delete an enemy team. We'll have to see if they can execute it here, but before we get on the Rift, we do have to go to a quick break while we load in. We will be right back. Game number 2 between the Bringers of Darkness and Itty Bitty Kitty Co. And ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the Rift with Itty Bitty Kitty Co. versus the Bringers of Darkness. And it looks like we have some potential level 1 aggression again from the Kitty Co. They did do this last time very successfully. Doesn't look like the Bringers of Darkness will fall for it again. In this instance, instead they're force stacking in the Tri-Brush. I feel like they should be warding here. Oh no, Silurus! Don't do it!
He was
Don't do it! No!
He's checks into the bush and he is more than dead. First blood this time going over to Sexy Beefcake Teemo. And Silurus is going to pay extra dearly for that as the first blood goes over to his lane opponent.
Ouch. That really hurts to have that happen twice. Oh, I don't know why he didn't check the bush. Why didn't he check the bush, Oct? Why didn't he throw his... Oh, man.
So let bygones be bygones. We'll see exactly what that translates into for Sexy Beefcake. Actually, he's opting not to go back to base to purchase anything. I don't know if there's anything he really could have... First Blood would have given him boots. I mean, that could be really valuable in this matchup here.
That's a second Doran's ring. It's 400 gold, so that would have been a decent amount of AP for Beefcake Teemo here, if he really did want it.
I mean, he still has the XP advantage even. There's a lot of advantages to getting that first blood, but
definitely.
Cyrillus seems undeterred, and he's actually still shoving up here, and I think that's the right call in the Taliyah versus Lux matchup. In a lot of matchups against Lux, you want to shove forward early because her cooldowns are long, her mana costs are high, and it's hard for her to shove back without burning herself out of mana. Yeah,
definitely. Taliyah is somebody that's very, very good at pushing up, and this would be... I have not gotten to cast a Taliyah quite yet, so this will be very cool for me. No, I actually haven't seen a single one in any of the games that I've casted so far, so... yeah, Guy of Gisborne. Ooh, level 2s are equal.
That was a little bit of a strange apprehend from Bumblebee, as Guy of Gisborne was already next to him. If he starts to win this fight, he's not going to have any way to chase, but he still has the flash in, and the passive is burning. He gets the kill, and this is why I like this matchup. He just has the higher base damage in the early game.
Yep.
Bumblebee in A. He gets the lane lead here in top.
Yeah, if Guy of Gisborne had picked up the Q or landed that Tentacle Slam, I feel like that would have been significantly better for him. But, man, he just was not able to connect it. Just good juke from Bumblebee, and he dominating the lane already just at level 2. Mm-hmm. So
Darius, he just has more sources of damage in the early game than an Alawi will. Like, unless you've got a whole load of tentacles stacked up in the exact right position, you're going to be dealing with his passives, the fact that he has more than one like damaging ability, you know.
Plus, his auto attacks are really just scary on their own too.
I guess you can call the auto reset on Harsh Lessons sort of a damaging ability, but it's more of just like an auto enhancer. Oh, there's the apprehended Guy Gisborne, and Bumblebee is not afraid to go for a second trade. Guy Gisborne loses the majority of his hit points once again. This time, not all of them, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one good thing you can take out of that trade. Just such a crazy lane already. Bumblebee just on fire up here. Dunkmaster as well. Just really putting himself in a good position with that skin choice, I think.
Yeah, it's the fact that he's on Dunkmaster Darius. I mean, how can you lose?
Yeah, how can you lose on such a good skin? But seriously, he took an XP advantage with that, contributing to that first blood. It's very, very small. I think it's actually less than a minion advantage, but hey, it does exist. He's up in CS now.
Doggo is even excited about the game. Everybody spam Franker Z in the chat for Blaster's Doggo. You can join in on the fun. Something I'm a little bit surprised by, honestly, is how little action we've seen on the bottom side of the map. I mean, this is a Morgana-Leona matchup against a Nami. You'd think they'd be all over that. Mind the Bananas would have to play so very safe. And yet we haven't seen anything of import burned on the bottom side. All summoners are still available. Nobody's missing basically any significant amount of health. They're getting the lane pushed in, and they are getting a CS lead, but there's just been almost no real action down here.
Yeah, which is really surprising, because Ezreal Nami should be poking a bunch, and Misfortune Leona should be looking to get kills just by all-inning a bunch. And neither of them are really doing that. If you look at their health values, they're all very high health still.
Yeah. It will explode into action at some point. I am certain of it. That's just the nature of a lane that has a Morgana Leona in it somewhere.
Yeah.
They don't really have very many other options aside from not using their abilities, which isn't really something that most League players are familiar with. I don't know of anyone who's quite that passive.
Yeah. I mean, Justice Dealer has looked for some engages here. Oh, he gets a connection.
Oh, yeah. He gets the connection on to Mind the Bananas. He can turn around with an Aqua Prism. Commander Lau is going aggressive here, though. Shifts away after an Exhaust gets dropped onto him. An Exhaust in kind from Mind the Bananas, but as sort of anticipated, Ezreal Nami come out the weaker end of that trade.
Surprised to see no Ignite here for Justice Dealer. I feel like if they're going to play a lane that excels this much at the early game and going in and securing kills, I thought they would have taken Ignite. Ooh, Silurus.
The full combo from Sexy Beefcake Timo, nearly bringing Silurus to his knees, but not quite.
The thing
the
is,
final spark flies across.
That's completely fine for Silurus, though. The fact that he didn't die to a full combo means that there's not really much pressure for quite a while longer there.
Speaking of pressure,
Gaia Gisborne pushed out again.
Has to pop the Ghost in the 1v1. Can't stand up to this Darius. Not anymore. The Phage completed. As he said, whoever builds tanky first is going to come out the weaker side of a lot of these trades, and it looks like it's Gisborne building into the tanky route first. He's got the Chain Fist.
Yeah, it's really looking like it here. Justice Stealer just playing so far up there. He goes
Commander
again.
Going to get caught here. The Aqua Prism not landing on his own, but Commander Lau is playing this aggressive, waiting to the last moment to shift away. He may be paying for that. Chunky Soup, though, is on the bottom side, and this was a bait and a half here for Kevinod. He steps a bit too far forward and figures out what a dragon.
That's a fabulous looking dragon, I have to say.
I had a really good joke lined up, and it distracted me. Silurus, Final Spark again! Oh. He dodges back into it.
Yeah, you can't position on that wall.
Yeah, it's so tough.
Never really.
The size of a line.
Yeah.
The size of a jet.
Yeah, I mean, man, you'll just get hit by every skill shot every time you dodge there. Every time you try to walk through there to escape, you're just pretty much going to die. It's, man, really, really rough for Silurus. Really rough overall for the Bringers of Darkness so far. 0-4. The Dragon will be picked up as well here, from the looks of it, by the Kitteh. And that will be, well, this is already a 4,000 gold lead for them nearly. Already a turret up. They already took bottom tower there with Chunky Soup's help. This is huge.
This is snowballing out of control way faster than the last one did. Akumi has just sort of come online, though. He's hit that level 6 point in the Amumu jungle. That is when you're the most potent.
Yeah.
See some ganks from the Amumu jungle. Oh, a slight misplay on the combo there from
a little bit shy.
Denies them quite a bit of damage, actually, especially considering those... you usually will max the Q on the Alawi lane, and a lot of your damage comes from your WE combo, the Seismic Shove and the Unravel Hurt.
That's Aaliyah,
and
yeah.
if you're not maxing those first, because you're maxing the Q for the farming and poking potential, they're each around an 18-second cooldown. So
yeah, those cooldowns really hurt a lot. It hurts a lot if you can land it, and it has a lot of power if you're able to deliver, but man, it is difficult to use. It is, I would say, significantly easier now. For anyone that's not up to date on Talia, she used to have an ability lockout. When she would place her W, she needs to cast it again in order to lock which direction. Before, she would be locked out of casting any other spells. Now she's not. So you can pre-place W.
Oh, speaking of Talia, Silurus on the top side with the Weaver's Wall. Doesn't quite land the Seismic Shove, though, and the Flash Bumblebee will get his way out of danger.
Strange
and that's
flash.
some of Kumi's time as well.
Yeah, strange flash there, but it still worked out. Man, he just did not see that coming at all, really, up until the very last second with that pink ward. But he does still get out in the end. Burn the flash, however. The Weaver's Wall is not on that long of a cooldown quite. It's very long, but it's not nearly as long as a flash, so that could be a repeat gank from Silurus very soon. Akumi was looking to go mid, but just not able to make it happen.
Yeah, this has been something of a sad story so far this game for Akumi. He's tried a few gank attempts since hitting that level 6 breakpoint, but they've all sort of been botched one way or another for him. And in the meantime, Chunky Soup has been farming up a storm. Now he's getting some counter jungling done. Maybe he gets caught here by Silurus, but he doesn't want to go for the seismic shove. And yeah, the outer turret on the bottom side, the dragon. All of these things Chunky Soup has had a hand in, whereas Akumi hasn't been able to get even table scraps yet.
Yeah, Akumi really needs to be making something happen soon on this Amumu. Actually, even rushes Merc Treads. Doesn't finish the jungle enchant yet. Doesn't even start building towards that really. Now, Akumi seems to build a little bit more of an aggressive Amumu. Last week, Akumi went for Runic Echoes, if I recall. Actually, correction, it was Cinderhulk, but I believe he went Liandry's afterwards anyway. He goes, like, sort of off AP Amumu. Somewhat tanky, but...
Silurus gets caught here.
Oh, no.
A light binding into the full combo. Now, we do have Akumi coming in for a little bit of vengeance, but I don't know if he's going to get what he's looking for. Crit Commander Lou brings him down with a Q, and mine the bananas.
Oh!
Execute those, so still no kills on the board here for the side of Bringers of Darkness. Gisborne's looking for a trade, but he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place now,
Yeah.
As Bumblebee 2NA has done such a great job of laying the pressure on here that oftentimes when we see him shoving into the turret, he's giving Guy the impossible decision of trade with the Darius or lose some CS.
Yeah. And so far, he hasn't really been able to do much of either because, I mean, Bumblebee is still very healthy and Guy Gisborne is down about 40 CS already. This has just not been a great lane for him so far. You know,
I may have an engage here.
Oh.
There it is! He gets his way in there, but he misses the ulti! One way or the other, though, Cirilla still gets the kill, the exhaust being dropped in place of the solar flare. And that is the first kill on the board here for Bringers of Darkness.
Yeah, 2 minutes now on that dragon. That will be... Well, let's see what it is. It is an Ocean Drake. So, oh, a bit of an engage here. Up in the top river.
Going to adjust his dealer as he's coming out of that play in the mid lane. He's going to flash away from the ulti that would surely have killed him. And Akumi won't be able to find too much of a follow-up, but maybe Cirillis can. Loosen Singularity does a lot of damage, though, as Teemo is getting pretty darn fed at this point. One more auto will do the job, and he finds it. Now with Chunky Soup to take the baton, he's going to chase down just his dealer. And Akumi has no team left to run to. He has to flash out of the way of a light binding.
Oh,
but here's Ezreal ulti, finds
not
its mark, but it doesn't have the damage.
Quite. So close that... If those minions had not been there, that would have been a very, very dead Akumi.
Man, yeah, it was the reduced damage after passing through units that saved his life there.
Now mid-turret falls. Oh, man, that bug carries over to Spectator too. Interesting. It's been a weird bug past patch or two for me where I'm seeing the wrong champion icon when a turret dies. It just showed Leona killed one of her own turrets there when the mid-turret died.
I've been seeing the wrong champion icon in a lot of different instances. Once I saw that Elise had killed herself.
Huh. Yeah, I've seen that too.
Probably the strangest bug I've ever seen.
Not sure what happened there. Spaghetti, it's everywhere. Rift Herald is nowhere now. We'll be able to pick that up. Yep. So that actually makes sense because the Darius will want to be more or less grouping with the team to extend this lead, but the Shyvana doesn't really have to. She'll be clearing the jungle. She'll be split pushing elsewhere. Silurus not...
Get damage into Silurus as well.
He's just not able to connect these seismic shoves. But even if he was, quite a few of these have even misclicked in the wrong direction entirely.
And that is such an integral part of Talia's kit.
It is. It really is. A lot of her damage comes from knocking someone over that minefield. Now, okay, Akumi grouping up with Guy of Gisborne. I've seen this before. They've pushed for the turret like this in the past. Will they be able to get it this time? I don't think they can. Chunky Soup and Bumblebee are both on the way. And Guy of Gisborne has no mana.
Yeah, this is dangerous here. Chunky Soup is going to be coming in with that burnout. Akumi doesn't have a flash to get out of this. He had to burn in the last
Guy is
engagement.
completely out of mana.
He does have the Curse of the Sad Mummy. That buys a little bit of time, but Bumblebee 2NA has now caught up to the fight with an apprehend. Amumu will be no longer with us.
Yeah, I mean...
Bumblebee actually finished off that kill.
Yeah, I mean, they had... To be fair, they had no way of knowing that Chunky Soup and Bumblebee were so close, but that's really risky to be pushed up that far past the river, even with a jungler, when their big fighter has no mana. Alawi absolutely needs mana.
And it was really risky because they had no idea. Like, they had not a single ward on that side of the map. On that side of that quadrant of the map, I should say, the top red side jungle. They have a few on their side in the blue side jungle, but those aren't really going to help you when you're that far up.
Yeah,
Speaking of far up, got Itty Bitty Kitteh going for a secondary turret here.
And they're, I mean, at this point, they are just one kill shy of a perfect game at 15 minutes, 16 minutes even. This is looking like an incredible game from Itty Bitty Kitteh. They're just on a very good, very good journey to taking this to a clean 2-0. They do have to close it out, however. For some teams, that is the hardest part.
The Ocean Drake now is live. Probably won't be for very long, though.
Yeah, most likely not.
Kitteh is focusing in onto it. The Bananas takes a good amount of damage from that, but it does have ebb and flow.
Oh,
and
Kevin.
they're secured as Kevin Odd gets caught off to the side. Burns the heal to get out alive. Is the Ezreal ulti. Not going to be finishing anything off quite yet. So Kevin Odd gets out of there. One summoner less. Chunky Soup now going aggressive. A seismic shove drop from Cyrilus.
A little bit late again. Unfortunate for Cyrilus.
Up on the top side, we have the continued 1v1 here. And as you said, whoever builds the Black Cleaver first has a pretty darn big advantage. See whether that holds true for Bumblebee. A nice sidestep there in the Tentacle Smash.
Yeah, I mean, Guy had to go for the Deadman's Plate this time. He didn't actually go for Sunfire last time. He just outright bought... he switched to Black Cleaver and then bought a Deadman's Plate, just like he did this time. He needs the Black Cleaver, though, to actually deal meaningful damage. And that Ruby Crystal is saying to me that he's going to be building it next, but it's just going to be very much late. And, I mean, the items will be pretty much equal in the end by the time they both complete their second items, but he's just so far behind in kills and gold in general.
There's the final spark.
Oh, not quite.
Barrier and Flash, though, taken off. Cyrilus leaves a unfavorable trade without a single summoner to his name. And now they're hunting down Akumi in the jungle.
Ooh, good job. Good job.
Full spirit to keep him safe, though.
Yeah, good dodge on the bubble there. I don't know if that's the best idea, Guy Gisborne. I feel like that's probably not. Mid-tier 2 falls.
Oh, no, Guy. Back out. Back out now, Guy.
Oh, no.
Back out now, Guy.
Kumi is here. I don't think they can turn this, though. Oh, maybe they can.
Coming in. Mind the Bananas is the one who took the turret aggro, and that is not where they wanted that to fall. He goes down very quickly. And they're going to back off from the turret dive. That's all but certain in their favor.
Cyllurus is extremely low in mid, meanwhile.
There's a mismanagement of turret aggro, and you don't want that going on to the support first.
Yeah, definitely not.
You got both the Shyvana and the Darius who could have grabbed that.
Yeah, bot turret falls in return.
That's very true, yeah. An outer turret falls on the bottom side. That's some much-needed global gold for the side of Darkness.
Oh no, here comes Crit Commander 2. This could be disastrous. Guy of Gisborne caught!
Gets by the Lux. Does not have his ulti anymore, and Chunky Soup will finish off the kill. Now Akumi coming in to try and help out his teammate is only going to find a helping dosage of damage. And the outer turret will fall on the top side. So after a bit of a botched dive, they go for a second attempt, and it's much more successful.
Yeah, they clean up their mistakes there, and they do pull through successfully in the end. Now they're going to get a blue buff for themselves as well. So they traded mid-tier 2 and top-tier 1 for bottom-tier 1.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, incredibly weighted in their favor, even. Definitely not going to be getting a perfect game now. Now having 2 deaths from the botched dive and losing a turret as well, but still very, very close for the Itty Bitty Kitteh. And this is looking fantastic for them.
And honestly, with the amount of vision control they have topside, and the Shyvana and... Well, Shyvana's pretty much the only one who would be really excellent at it. They have a chance to even go for like a 20-minute Baron once it spawns. Like the game is theirs to open up right now. That would be the riskiest of the plays they could potentially make.
Definitely.
They've got a lot of options. That's a great position to be in as a team.
Yeah. Definitely. Man, just such a crazy game, but it's still just really one-sided. Okay, so what can Bring It to Darkness do to pull this back? Again, I think they just need picks if they can, but they're not really that much of a pick comp now. If they find Lux, Nami, or Ezreal out of position, then they can probably kill them, maybe. But being this far behind this early in the game, it's not looking pretty for that even being an opportunity for them. If they can land a perfect wombo, they might be able to do something, but they need Guy of Gisborne to do more damage. They need Cabanod to get off the ground, and they need Silurus to get off the ground a little bit more than he is at the moment as well, because otherwise that whole combo is going to be wasted. Even a perfect combo at this point I don't think would kill the Darius and Chunky Soup, and those are the targets they really need to kill.
Chunky Soup is a menace at this point. They do catch him out with that Test of Spirit there, but the pressure has already been laid. I mean, if they commit to this chase, I don't even know if they get this kill here. Though. BK Tima's coming around the side. That's a lot of damage waiting in the wings. There's the Alawi ulti as well. That's both Leona and Alawi ults down. They didn't even manage to force Chunky Soup to Dragon's Descent away.
Yeah.
Ghost was popped. That's what they traded all that for. Ghost.
It's really hard to justify that. Now Akumi's caught as well. Has the flash.
Flashes over the wall.
Chunky Soup even coming back in.
Aggressive. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Bumblebee 2NA is diving in onto Silurus, who has absolutely no defense. Burns away to the passive. Basketballs. Flights of basketballs singing him to his death.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think this game... I really don't like to call games early. And there is still room for Bringers of Darkness to come back, but... At
Any
this
wombo combo
point,
can eventually come back, but
yeah, it's just
it's a huge eventuality now.
It is, and they're playing so desperately now. They're not playing perfectly enough to get to the position to get back in this game.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be like
it
might just be out of reach for them just entirely to actually be able to pull this back, because they would need to do so much right, and I feel at this point that Itty Bitty Hitiko would even need to do a bunch wrong in order to get to the point where the Bringers of Darkness could really start pulling back in this game.
Yeah, the argument for them probably not being able to come back into the match here is that if they had the macro capabilities to be able to control the game well enough to stall out towards the end game and then come back and make use of their wombo comp, they would have exercised those macro capabilities earlier on to prevent this much of a landslide disadvantage.
Yeah, if nothing else, the Bringers of Darkness have one sole beacon of hope in the darkness of this game, and that is a Baron throw. A Baron that is ill-advised, or they pull the trigger on it too quickly, or they just simply do not respect the Bringers of Darkness enough. They are such a compact team comp. They work so well in a small area that they can just absolutely demolish Itty Bitty Kitty if they get a good set of ults. The problem is that might be a one-off thing. That might happen once in this game, and it might be great, but it might stall out the game for 5-10 more minutes, and then they just go back to struggling again 30 seconds later, whether they can use the Baron or not, because their comp... Yeah, gold lead is just too big.
I think a really big actually, we may have a catch here from Justice Dealer.
He's alone,
maybe catch
though.
onto Justice Dealer. Yeah, he didn't have anybody to follow up off of that that engage.
Good flash.
He's going to flash over the wall. He just about escapes with his life, but that's everything burned off the Leona now. Basically, Leona's dead. Has to go back to base, heal up, and get back to the fight.
And the thing about the Baron throw as well is that's just asking so much that Bringers of Darkness haven't shown. They haven't shown that when they're behind, they're willing to take risks to try and contest objectives to get back into the game. Contesting something like that, it just seems like something that, as a team, they're not comfortable doing, ever.
Oh, Guy of Gisborne is most certainly caught out here. The Iceborne Gauntlet proc slows him down, but nobody quite has anything to throw his way, or maybe they're just content with shoving it onto the turret. No reason to focus the Alawi when you can grab that global objective easily. Apprehend doesn't actually quite land it.
A little bit short. Oh, Silurus.
Silurus burns the barrier. Sorry, not salty. Sexy Beefcake Timo.
Could be
I just see the
salty
word
as well,
Timo and
you
I
know?
start saying salty. Almost gets himself killed under an
Ooh.
inhibitor. Nice engage, followed up off of Kevin Odd's ulti. Sadly, Solar Flare doesn't quite land onto the target it needed to, as Bumblebee is kiting back, getting some good damage now back onto Justice Dealer, who no longer has the flash to get out of this fight. There's the ulti out of Guy of Gisborne. Let's see what he can use this for. Chunky Soup is going dangerously low. Kevin Odd is kiting back, and this could be the miracle team fight that is the start of the long, arduous path back into this game for Bringers of Darkness. Commander Lau is still hanging about, though. And Sexy Beefcake Timo's had enough time to heal up and come back to this fight. I think one of the key factors in that fight was that Beefcake wasn't around for basically any of it.
Yeah.
That was a lot of their damage removed from the fight by default there.
Yeah, again, just very similarly to last game, if not identically to last game. Beefcake has delivered so hugely in lane and just delivered so much damage in the fights that if Beefcake is taken out of the fights for whatever reason, that's a large chunk of the damage taken out of the equation.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Speaking of
Beefcake might be
taken out.
caught here.
Yeah, Zenith Blade into the stun. Shield of Daybreak holding Beefcake up for a little while. Ooh, the Bandage Toss doesn't land, though.
There's
Oh, but the Weaver's Wall comes down.
Wall doesn't block anything meaningful, though.
Yeah,
He's
Silurus, I think, was hoping to catch up to the fight
Yeah.
while Lux was still CC'd, but the Bandage Toss didn't land, was just out of range.
Yeah, that would have been great had he ridden that all the way through and the rest of the team was ready to commit further in, but it's just such a risk. That could have been great, but it was just such a huge risk, and that's the situation the Bringers of Darkness are finding themselves in repeatedly here. Now they're recognizing openings. That's a big improvement from last week, but now the openings that they're finding aren't all they're cracked up to be, really. That is...
Ward combat.
Yeah, that is, man, ultimate BM from a support.
Oh, but this is giving them
He plays
time
the
to
ward.
actually come around for the flank.
That was close.
And meanwhile, Bumblebee with his Baron buff is in the mid lane. That's a turret going down.
This Baron still has a decent amount of time on it. Still 15 to 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
They might
Gonna
be
earn themselves
pushed
some
back,
good pressure,
though.
especially with Chunky pushing out the top side as well. Justice of Spirit on a Bumblebee, but he is rather tanky.
Oh, here we
There's
go.
Kumi coming in. There's the ulti off Leona as well. This time Solar Flare landing on the two members. Kevin Odd gets some good damage down, and Mind the Bananas is taken out of the fight very early. Trick Commander Lau, though, is kiting back, and Justice Dealer will fall. That's a double kill for the Ezreal. Guy of Gisborne now under fire from this blue build Ezreal. The shift over the wall. There's the triple. Do we see the quadra? Guy of Gisborne is going to not quite get slowed. Actually, he misses the Q. He's going to turn his attention on the Silurus. He may yet have the quadra, unless Chunky Soup finishes off the kill under
Man.
the double turrets. So close for Crit Commander Lou. That was a penta.
Yeah, that was. Oh, man, that was so close to a penta, but now instead, he's going to have to settle with a victory. It's looking like a game,
During that fight,
another game taken. Man.
That was a good wombo combo setup, but they didn't land any of it onto Crit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big thing that's been happening, well, in the last two fights in particular. The combo has shown its potential, and it looked like it could work, but the big caveat is they're not catching all of the big targets like they need to. They're only catching one or two of them, maybe. They only caught one in Mind the Bananas. And
If the game was more even, that would be all right. But
Yeah,
they're
that
so
would
far
be
behind,
fine.
they have to land like the 4 or 5 man combo
Yeah.
to be able to win a fight. They can't afford to have like only 80% of the team.
Yeah, and I think at this point, too, it's even just so tilted in Itty Bitty Kitty Co's favor that they can't just take any 4. They need the 4. They need Ezreal, Lux, Nami, and either Darius or Shyvana, or just those 3 on their own. They need those 3, though. They can't take just the Nami, Darius, and Shyvana, because then they'll only kill the Nami like they had the last 2 fights, and they can't just take one or the other for the carries, because then they'll only kill one of them, and they're both delivering hugely in this game now, especially Crit Commander. He showed up in that last fight, and now his KD is looking very much better than it did before, much more impressive than it did before, I should say. It wasn't
Yeah,
bad before,
more
that's for sure.
exemplary of how much of an impact he's actually having in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got the core of the Ezreal built up, and Ezreal, this is where he shines in a fight that wants to try and catch on to the enemies and is
Akumi.
being as slippery as he is.
And
It's where he's really valuable.
yeah, Akumi is going full tank. Amumu this time. Oh, Crit Commander
Soulfire this
caught!
time does land on the Commander Lu, but it's not going to hold him up long enough for any sort of damage to come his way. Now Justice Dealer is trying to back out of this fight with his tail between his legs, but he will not get very far.
no.
A 3-man final spark. They can wombo too. Here comes Chunky Soup. That's the triple kill for Sexy Beefcake Timo. He wanted one as well.
They're going on the
Wasn't
fountain for it.
Oh, they go for the Quadra. They may get it onto Akumi here.
They pinged for it. They wanted it.
They really want this. They may die for it. Finding on the altar. Kevin Hyde down below half. There's Bumblebee tanking quite a bit of damage, but the Nexus is under fire by the largest tanking departments quite a while. And that would be the 2-0 sweep going over to Itteh Kitteh.
Yeah, and again, a really decisive set of games from them. Bringers of Darkness, again, showing glimmers of hope, signs of potential, but just need a bit more work to really be able to get there. Congratulations to Itteh Kitteh and to Bringers of Darkness for their improvement from this last week, over this last week, I should say. And these comms were a lot of fun to watch, this game, I feel. I really enjoyed it, even if it was pretty one-sided. It looked like Bringers of Darkness could have pulled it back a few times, but man, it was just so difficult for them.
Yeah. It was an enjoyable set of games to cast, that's for sure. Glad to be on the desk with you, Blaster.
Yeah, always a pleasure. But with that, guys, that will be it for the night. Thank you all so much for watching Learning Fives tonight. Again, this was Bringers of Darkness versus the Itteh Kitteh. My name is Blaster Boy, and I am joined by Octavian. That will be all for us tonight. Be sure to check back next week for our next show match, and check out our YouTube channel as well, and Twitter. Both of them are linked below, so you can be up to date with all of the latest Learning Fives information. And with that, that will be all from us tonight. Again, thanks for watching, and have a great night, everyone.